What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and it's been a while since I talked about Cyberpunk 2077, and a few minor stories have come up, but also one pretty interesting one, which I'm going to cover right now in this video. And later today, I've got to talk about some hilarious changes to the new Borderlands 3 game and some incredible new rules if you want to talk about Borderlands 3 in the Gearbox forum. So you're not going to want to miss that video. It's going to be out about two and a half hours after this video. But nonetheless, we've got to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. Easily the most anticipated game of 2020. Probably still one of the most anticipated games of 2019, other than perhaps Borderlands 3. Obviously, the new Elder Scrolls will be up there too. But nonetheless, Cyberpunk 2077, which is produced by CD Projekt Red, fan favorite, producer of wildly favorited games like The Witcher 3, which I am finally playing through now and really enjoying myself. It still holds up. It's been out for several years. I'm having a blast, really engrossed in the story, and I got the game super cheap anyway, so I guess that's a huge win. But Cyberpunk 2077 will not avoid difficult subjects and intends to tell an adult story. Multiple sci-fi aesthetics combine to create Night City. The game wants you to think for yourself. Nothing is black and white, and immortality is the key to V's freedom. Now, this was reported on by exclusivelygames.com. News writer Jack Lindsay. Good catch, Jack. Well-condensed article. But Jack, I don't speak Polish. How will I ever understand what the interview says? Well, thanks to the efforts of Redditor, the Neon Arcade, we have a summary of the new information below. The interview itself is between Polski Radio and the lead quest designer of Cyberpunk 2077, Paweł Sasko. Sasko shed some light on the mature themes of Cyberpunk 2077 and how it will not shy away from contentious topics, contrary to many games in today's climate. Check out the full summary below. As if I could pre-order this game any harder. Although I generally don't pre-order games, pretty much can't think of a time other than Red Dead Redemption 2 that I ever have. As much as I want to pre-order the new Call of Duty game, I probably won't do that. However, the team from GOG, since I can order it from GOG Galaxy, perhaps I will. I mean, I guess I'll have to look at the incentives. But nonetheless, some interesting stuff here. First, 4 styles have been presented in the E3. Anthropism, kitsch, and neo-militarism. And neo-kitsch will influence how Night City looks in general, not only affecting the clothing, but also the architecture of different parts of the city. Their goal is to tell a movie-like story for an adult audience, touching on subjects that we face in our times. He specifies that their games are not toys and not for children. He says, today's culture, we try to avoid difficult subjects, but we will not shy away from these. In fact, he says the game is loaded with them. They want people to think for themselves. It'll be up to us to decide what our morality is. He then continues, by the way, that is music to my ears. In an era where video games, instead of allowing the person enjoying the game, playing the game, to discover and make their own decisions, everybody seems to want, not gamers that is, but media, seems to demand games tell the game player, the person who's just trying to, relax after a long day at work, at their crummy job, they want video games to tell these people they're right or they're wrong, or they want them to tell them how they want them to think and what they should be doing and how they should be saying and what words they should use to refer to people and all sorts of things like this. The game will allow you to look at things from different perspectives, so knowing them will rarely be black and white situation. We find ourselves in the goal is to keep the player on edge in the back of his seat by telling a breathtaking story. On the edge of his seat. Why did I say back? That's very encouraging. I think early on already, when I just see the way The Witcher 3's story is, I'm just totally engrossed in it. And for me, that's the type of video game I like. Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't love it for the gameplay. The gameplay, in my opinion, is mediocre, but the story is so good, and you identify with the characters so much, and you start to care about them. That's the type of video games I like, personally. I know there's all sorts of type of video games that everyone enjoys for a variety of reasons, and that's cool. Some people really like puzzle games. Some people really like FPS games. Some people really like, racing games. Whatever you're into, that's cool. But for me, story mode is super important. And that's why I'm looking at, for example, the new Call of Duty game adding a compelling campaign and story mode to it makes me want to play it more than any new minor gameplay or quality of life improvements that the game could have. V's main goal is to break free from NC's shackles and find himself a better life. And finding the immortality chip is closely connected to this goal, which makes Johnny the key to the main plot, and your relationship with him that you build over time will shape the game's ending. His precise words: I translated everything so that there won't be any additional meanings created or lost in translation. Everything is as he said. And the way some of the other media is picking it up. Now, we've seen a curious kind of contempt from games media with Cyberpunk 2077. We've seen them cover the game in a negative light for seemingly irrelevant issues. And I think that it's hard to have your voice stick out when everybody's talking about how something's really great or how something's going to be awesome. And so media oftentimes will just take this negative approach to get noticed. And for a while there, I was really concerned that Cyberpunk 2077 wasn't going to get any positive press. Not that it needed it, because, you know, CD Projekt Red has built up so much goodwill. I doubt anybody's waiting to buy Cyberpunk 2077 and for the reviews. Here on Gamerant, they say one thing that Witcher 3 development CD Projekt Red is renowned for is this prowess in storytelling. Cyberpunk 2077 is shaping up to be another example of expertise in narration, including factors like religion and other facets affecting the game stories. Paweł Sasko, the lead quest designer for Cyberpunk 2077, confirmed the studio's decision to in-depth stories when he appeared on Polish radio station and spoke of the team's desire for a mature and cinematic native experience. He appeared on the station known as Polski Radio and divulged some aspects of Cyberpunk 2077. You know, I'm excited to hear this. Some other updates, some other news. First of all, is Cyberpunk 2077 is also getting a standalone card game. After CD Projekt Red revealed a day ago that Cyberpunk 2077 players have as much freedom in the game as possible, the studio just confirmed the development of a spin-off game based on the still unreleased sci-fi title. The spin-off game is called Cyberpunk 2077: The Afterlife, the card game. And it's a standalone deck game putting players in dark alleyways of Night City. Unlike Cyberpunk 2077, which will let players control Cyberpunk V, Afterlife will put players in the role of fixers, who are agents in charge of dealing with smuggled goods and information, who then recruit cyberpunks to accomplish their work. The fixers in Afterlife will be responsible for gathering a group of cyberpunks, equip them with the necessary tools and weapons, and send them out on missions. For a successful mission, players will raise their street cred, which is, as the developer describes, the only currency that matters. In the world of Cyberpunk 2077, the card game's official description sums everything up by saying, quote, the game thrusts players into the dark alleyways of Night City where ruthless gangs clash with corporations in an endless war for money, power, and control. Cyberpunk 2077: The Afterlife will be created by CD Projekt Red in collaboration with board game publisher Simon. Now, this is a huge company, and also, if you saw The Witcher, in The Witcher 3, you had the card game Gwent. Now, the game itself was loved by a small section of the gaming community, so much so it got its own standalone game. Now, it's struggling to kind of find its place, as is all digital trading card games in current year. I just think if you look at even how Hearthstone is nowhere near as relevant as it once was. Magic the Gathering, the world's largest trading card game, can't make headway online. I think just a digital trading card game online in current year is extremely difficult. It's a tough road to hoe. Simon, which is known for partnerships with other video games, including Bloodborne, the upcoming God of War board game. Of course, a spin-off game for Cyberpunk 2077 is not that surprising, given that CD Projekt Red's other franchise, The Witcher, got the same treatment with the release of Gwent, the Witcher card game. The spin-off card game is not the only thing Cyberpunk 2077 is borrowing from The Witcher. Yesterday, the developer also confirmed that upcoming game will get its own version of The Witcher 3's popular concert, Priscilla. The studio revealed that the sci-fi RPG, the concert, would be much bigger and grander than the one on Witcher. Lots of great news coming out of Game Rant here, as well as exclusively games. And then also more news, just so much news. We have Mike Pondsmith Cyberpunk creator Mike Pondsmith will actually be in Cyberpunk 2077. In just a few weeks, those anticipating Cyberpunk 2077 will be able to get a look at the latest gameplay demo that was originally shown behind closed doors. Thankfully, the devs at CDPR have been rather talkative lately, providing plenty of details about the upcoming title and what players can expect when they jump into Night City. That said, the creator of the original Cyberpunk tabletop RPG, who's also part of the development team, has been speaking about the project as well, even revealing that he will be playing a role somewhere in the experience. Mike Pondsmith recently sat down with official Xbox magazine for their September issue to discuss the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077. During the interview, Cyberpunk creator noted that he does show up in the game at some point. He didn't give any clues as to when or where. I have a role, he said. I actually recorded for one role, but they came up with a different one for me, but I can't tell you much about that. And I'm telling you that because there are a lot of fans who are going, he better be in the game somewhere. Pondsmith continued by saying, so I'm in the game. I'm figuring what happens is, at some point, Johnny Silverhand is playing his guitar, and I'll come out and play my bass. While that is certainly an entertaining thought and entirely possible, there's a good chance that CDPR has something else in mind for Pondsmith's role. Either way, it will be interesting to see exactly what the devs are up to. And even more Cyberpunk 2077 news. This, just a few days ago coming out, that there is a pen and paper game, and that is the key to understanding Cyberpunk 2077. The team at CDPR has a well-earned reputation that masters the computer role-playing genre. The work of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is regarded not just as a technical achievement, but as an example of how dynamic and expansive the storyline of AAA quality video games franchise can be. CDPR's next game, near future epic called Cyberpunk 2077, is less than a year away. While not many details are known about the game's storyline, fans have a unique opportunity to experience the world well ahead of the time. That's because the prequel was released just last week in form of a pen and paper RPG system called Cyberpunk Red. Polygon was given early access, of course, to Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit, a starter set from the Universal creators at our Talsorian Games. We were also invited to experience a 5-hour unpublished adventure led by co-author David Ackerman. This makes a comprehensive and entirely spoiler-free review of the highly anticipated pen and paper game. Welcome to Night City, a sprawling metropolis stuck between LA and San Francisco. The year is 2045. I'm actually really pumped that people who want to jump in early and are really lore buffs and people that want to understand all the deep lore of Cyberpunk and how the world became the way it was by 2077 are going to have this. Plus, by the way, I'm a huge fan of pen and paper RPGs. Even though they're played nowadays digitally, often through Discord with other people all around the world, you still kind of get that kitchen table experience and feel. And you can go through, obviously, I don't want to spoil too much, but, at the core of Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit, a slim volume called World Book, inside authors Mike Pondsmith, Dave Ackerman, Jay Gray, James Hunt, and Cody Pondsmith retell the future history of our planet. Rather than a single point of departure, common universes like Fallout or Battletech, the 51-page softcover document tells a story of society falling into chaos by degrees. Inside the detailed timeline, cataloging the steady rise of groundbreaking technologies, it tells a tale of wayward government, serially incapable of protecting their own citizens, then drives its way to the near-apocalyptic events known as the Fourth Corporate Battle. Reading between the lines of Cyberpunk's Red World Book, you can see the authors giving our modern-day troubles a sardonic side-eye. Yes, things are pretty bad right now, they seem to be saying, but what would happen if they got way worse? What if the pockets of the world erupted? It's interesting. I'm loving a lot of this art from the Cyberpunk world. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that most everyone is looking forward to, that I can talk to. Even casual fans are just like aware of, just how prolific CD Projekt Red is after hearing nonstop about how great Witcher 3 was. And all this great news for Cyberpunk 2077 means that I'm hoping we're going to get an amazing game, and I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to your thoughts about all this news in the comment section down below. I'm also looking forward to knowing whether or not you think you're going to pre-order this game. I might break my own rule and help CD Projekt Red out by pre-ordering. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.